of traffic crashes. What is it? What can you do about it? What skills and strategies can you put in place to keep yourself safe? That's what we're talking about tonight. A couple of people here. Bricks for Wheels. Hello. He is the moderator. Does an excellent job of getting up the videos I suggest you have a look at for more details to the questions you have about passing a driver's test, becoming a safer, smarter driver, or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. Marion is here. Tuning in from sunny Vancouver. I wish we had sun here, Marion. And Eric, hello, my friend, tuning in from Minnesota, Minneapolis. I get that right? No, I got that backwards. Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm going to turn it around there. Excellent. So, hello, everyone. If you have questions, leave a comment down in the comment section there. If you're watching on the replay, you're watching live, leave us a question, and we'll definitely do our best to help you out. We're talking about social driving today, the way that everybody else drives after they get their license. Speeding, following too close, not stopping at stop sign intersections, not signaling, expecting other people to do something expecting other people to not do something goofy on the roadway is like going to watch your favorite sports team and expecting the other team not to score. It's simply not a reality. People are going to do goofy things on the roadway. They're going to cut you off, drive over painted islands, follow too close. These are just some of the many, many traits of social driving. And the leading causes of crashing under the big umbrella of social driving are failing to give way, following too close, and mismanagement of speed and space. Road users fail to understand the speed differential between different road user groups on the roadway. Turon, thanks for the live stream. Should be fun. You are welcome, my friend. I look cold. Marion, yes, I've been cold all day. It is, I don't know, it's not even that cold. It's gray and overcast. It's just blah. It's just blah. It's always blah here in the Okanagan. And I'll tell you, my kids are done high school. I'm out of here. I'm all done with Western Canada. We lived on Vancouver Island for 5 years. In the wintertime, it was just raining and overcast, and it's the same here in the Okanagan. People want to live here. Well, they can live here. I would rather have minus 20 degrees Celsius, 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and blue sunny skies than have this. This just, by this time of the year, the end of January, February, I'm worn out. I'm tired. We have had sunshine for the past 2 weeks. That is awesome. However, Marion, now saying that, we drove to Washington State over the weekend. We went skiing at Mount Baker for a couple of days, and the sun was magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. Great ski trip with my kids, and got a lot of quality time together. But the sunshine was just it's the Man of Steel, the Superman movie, where he's floating above the planet and the sun comes up and hits him, and the yellow sun reinvigorates him and brings him back to life. That's kind of like what it was. You come out of the shade in the shadow of the mountain, and then you come up over the top, and the sun would just be beaming into your face, and it was like that. You're like, oh, I'm alive. I am Superman. Yes. Lucy, hello, my friend, and Elevator Fan tuning in from Monticello, Indiana. And Elevator Fan, you had a birthday on the 25th, if I'm not mistaken. How was your birthday, my friend? Awesome, awesome. So lots of people here, and we'll get going here on social driving. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the way that other people drive after they get their license. And the two skills, not skills, habits that you can create to keep yourself safe. 2 to 3 second following distance in front of your vehicle at all times. Never give up that following distance in front. And stopping back 1 vehicle length from the vehicle in front of you. And your landmark for that is to be able to see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the pavement. If you can put those 2 habits in place, it doesn't matter where you go in the world, because I've tested this in Europe, Spain is in Europe, but you get the drift. Australia, the United States, here in Canada, where else have I driven? In the UK, and it works. It works throughout the world if you can put that space in front of your vehicle. Now, I have been challenged by people that are from India and places like that, China, where it will not work. And they're probably right. I will need to go there and test this and see whether it will work. Mexico City would be another place where they probably just ride on the bumper of the car in front of them. However, you're talking about massive, massive amounts of traffic in these places. It's not controlled and coordinated in the way that it is in North America. That's, definitely something to keep in mind. All right, Lucy, when I was trying to get my driver's license, I used to watch your videos day and night. I had my driver's license for 3 years, 5 months. Thank you for teaching. Lucy, you are most welcome. Thank you for stopping back and letting us know that you are doing awesome with your license. That is really great news, my friend. I just got my license on the 6th in New Jersey. Awesome. That is great, my friend. Congratulations on getting your license. How is the driving going, my friend? Minnesota too, yes, and so all this info helps, yes, definitely, because as I said, social driving, it's the arena into which you are entering and you are going to be driving. And, I should probably do some videos on pedestrians because, as most of you know, smart drivers who frequent the live streams every week and look at the videos, I do a lot of walking. I walk down and get the kids, and it's kind of a dual purpose thing because I walk the dogs at the same time. But today, for example, I was coming across at the roundabout, and I've said this before, the crosswalks are too close to the roundabout because people are still turning through the roundabout as they're coming up to the crosswalk. And today, I knew that the person driving the car was not looking at me. Now, you could say something about this because it was a Subaru, but I waited. There's kind of a, that traffic island in the middle, and I waited between the traffic island before I got eye contact and actually knew that the person was slowing down before I stepped out in front of the traffic. Taken on a global scale, if you look at vulnerable road users and traffic deaths on a global scale, 50% of traffic deaths are vulnerable road users. And I'm talking about pedestrians, cyclists, motorcycle riders, kids on skateboards and scooters and those types of things, e-bikes, e-scooters, all that sort of thing. So it's a tremendous amount of people who are walking and sharing road space with cars that are the victims of traffic fatalities. Now, the other piece of information to keep in mind, more than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. So mapping and tracking intersections as you're approaching. What kind of intersection is it? Does it have a left turning lane? Does it have a right turning lane? Is there an advanced green? Those are that you should be gleaning and collecting as you're approaching the intersection. And then locating, mapping, and tracking road users at the intersection. Where are the vulnerable road users? At the intersection. Those types of things. This is all the stuff that you should be thinking about and doing as you're approaching the intersection. Okay, Ant, India would be a challenge. So many bikes and tuk-tuks. Yes, exactly, Ant. I am not going to purport or assert that the smarter defensive driving model is going to work in India. And India is a prime example of what I'm talking about right now in the current movement we're talking about with the urban planning of we hate cars, right? Where we're putting in bike lanes and, we're implementing laws to prevent daylighting, which is, preventing cars from parking right up to the intersection and whatnot. What happens is that when you make a roadway for everybody, the cyclist, the e-scooters, the e-bicycles, the tuk-tuks, the horse-drawn traffic, the bullock-drawn traffic, because India has all of this, then the road serves nobody, okay? And personally, I think that rather than building bicycle lanes along every thoroughfare in every city, every roadway in every city, we should have certain roadways that are for cars and we should have roadways that are for bicycles and pedestrians. That's what we need to do. If you really want to do urban planning right, that's what you need to do. Status, it's Paul. City bus will cause crashes because operators brake so hard rather than smoothly. I've been on a couple of those buses with bus transit drivers that are not smooth on the controls for sure. Evan, don't use your backup camera as your primary line of sight, especially on a test. It doesn't show everything behind you, and even if it did, examiners want you to be able to back up without it. Yes, indeed. Excuse me. The front end's going one way and the back end is going another way, and I'm not sure what's going on with the lagging here. I do apologize about that. I may have to reboot the system here. So thanks for that, Eric. Yeah, it says excellent connection on my end, but it's buffering for whatever reason. All right, Lucy, also in 2021, I bought your course online. That was so helpful. It was worth every penny, and that is a great endorsement, Lucy. You know, as I said, Lucy, if you're willing to write a couple of lines of endorsement for the new website, that would be really helpful. I really appreciate that. I'm glad we were able to help you get going and get your license. And not only that, keep you safe because you've been doing well. So awesome. Elevator, if you participate in social driving on a driver's test, you will fail your driver's test. Elevator fan, you're absolutely 100% right. If you do what everybody else is doing on the roadway, you will not pass your driver's test because they're following too close, they're speeding, you know, they're not coming to a complete stop at stop sign intersections. You need to do all of that stuff for getting a driver's lesson or getting a driver's license. And this is why it is so difficult for new drivers to pass the driver's test, because everything in the driving environment is telling them something different than what they have to do to not only pass a driver's test, but to be safe after you get your driver's license, because what everybody is doing on the roadway is dangerous. Okay? First and foremost is following too close, because the number one crash in North America is rear end crashes. You need to increase your following distance, and you need to increase your observation skills. Shoulder checking, for example. Shoulder checking is the first skill that drivers lose after getting their driver's license. And you need to move your head. You cannot just move your eyes and safely drive a car. You can just drive the car with just moving your eyes, but it's not safe. You have to move your head. You have to shoulder check when you're driving to keep yourself safe and maintain that 2 to 3 second following distance in front. Now, I have had people come back to me over the years and say to me, well, if I drive like that, I'm not going to get anywhere. I drive fast. But I never, ever compromise that space in front of my vehicle. Never give up that 2 to 3 second following distance. I never stop closer than one vehicle length back from traffic in front of me. And it has served me well over the years, both as a professional driver and in my own personal vehicle. So if you can create those habits, it's going to keep you safe in the arena of social driving. Eric, me too. I love your videos and all your live streams. I feel so much better as a driver because of you. Excellent. Thank you so much, Eric. Greatly appreciate it. And it was awesome to meet you guys when I was down in Minnesota in the summertime. I just wish I had a plan some more time for that, but I'll get there again for sure. Turn on, that's great. I've been doing that following distance tip. Excellent. That is really great. Awesome. All right, so we're talking about social driving. We're talking about the leading cause of car crashes, and we've talked about the severity of car crashes on previous live streams, in the fact that in the United States of America alone, just one country in the world, every 18 months in the United States of America, more people are killed in traffic crashes than the number of soldiers sent to the Vietnam War between 1963 and 1975. Approximately 65,000 Americans were killed in that conflict of a dozen years. Every 18 months in the United States, more people are killed in traffic crashes. So it is a serious, serious problem, but not one that is given a lot of thought by a lot of people who drive until, unfortunately, they do get involved in a crash, and then they're looking around for defensive driving strategies and measures so that they're not involved in a crash again. And this is what we're trying to do here, to make people, not make people, but give people the skills and information so that they can be safer, smarter drivers. All right, so we'll just get over to the presentation here and we'll get through that. It's about 10 or 12 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll spend the remainder of the hour answering all your questions, talking about defensive driving, social driving. What is social driving? What are the tools you can put in place for the smarter defensive driving model, and make yourself reduce the risk of being involved in a crash. So we're talking about social driving, and you can see the cluster of cars here on the highway. Clusters of cars on highways is one of the other characteristics, one of the minor characteristics of driving. For whatever reason, I cannot figure it out, but people get out on the highway, get out on the interstate, the freeway, and they insist on driving in packs. So if you can drive in the spaces between the clusters of cars on the highway, you're going to make yourself safer. As well, people are speeding, but speed is not necessarily a cause of a crash. It contributes to the severity of the crash, but it's not necessarily a cause of crash, as so many authorities like to put forward that speeding is the cause of a crash. It definitely contributes to the severity of the crash, but if that were true, we would have far more crashes on the highways than we do. But we certainly have more fatal crashes on highways than we do in the cities. We have more crashes in the cities. And this is another piece of information about traffic statistics that people do not talk about. We talk about traffic fatalities and the number of people that are killed with traffic crashes, but we seldom hear people talking about the number of traffic crashes and the number of injuries that are sustained because of traffic crashes. And really, we have a lot of traffic crashes and a lot of traffic injuries, or injuries as a result of traffic crashes that go unreported, that people do not go to the hospital. It's not reported. Police aren't called. They don't go to crash reporting centers and those types of things. So this is another aspect of traffic safety that is much more difficult to quantify than it is, because when somebody's killed in a traffic crash, you have a body. It's very easy to count that statistic. But if somebody sustains soft tissue damage and he's injured in a car crash, that's much more difficult to quantify and make, statistics out of. But I can tell you the number of crashes, the number of injuries because of car crashes is quite high. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s. Hauled freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States. I moved to Australia in the early 2000s, January 2002. Drove buses for Greyhound on one of the regional bus lines there while I was going to university at the University of Melbourne. 2006, I graduated with my doctorate in legal history, studying legal history is the study of policing, courts, and prisons, as some of you may or may not know, and became a driving instructor in 1997. Most of my experience is with semi-trucks and buses, but I did do some work as a driver rehabilitation specialist, teaching people how to drive with hand controls, paraplegics mostly, and people that had strokes and other debilitating injuries and those types of things. 2015, I started the online YouTube channel. Crazy to think it's been 10 years. I just realized that it's been 10 years. I've been on YouTube helping people to get their license and to become safer, smarter drivers. That's just crazy to think. So you want to know more about me, want to know more about the online YouTube channel, check out the biography down in the description there. Corey will put that link down there for you as well. Videos to definitely have a look at, 5 defensive driving skills and defensive driving skills for new drivers, those drivers that just got their license. And as I said, Corey will put those videos up for you as well, and they'll be down in the description when I get it edited and put up the video. Aaron, hello my friend. Welcome from Chilliwack. Yes, 10 years on YouTube. That is crazy to think. Crazy to think. What is social driving? Social driving is the one thing that unites us as a human race, regardless of creed, religion, race, whatever. Everybody who drives would agree with the statement, for the most part, not everybody, but most people would say, I am a good driver. Few people will say to you, no, I really suck at that and I probably shouldn't be driving at all, but I have a license. Most people will. The other piece of social driving is that you've probably heard people over your time of driving saying to you, I've been driving for 20 years. I've never had a crash. No, they don't say crash. They say, I've been driving for 20 years. I've never had an accident. So that is their high watermark. That is their benchmark by which they gauge whether they are a good or bad driver. Driving for 20 years and not having a crash is not an indicator that you were a good or bad driver. It just means that you've been lucky or other people have simply stayed away from you, because driving is a social event. It's a social activity, and other people, may have just helped you out where you didn't get into a crash. Because, I've been putting on my pants on since I was 5 years old. I never went out of the house without my pants on. Therefore, could I conclude that I'm a snappy dresser? Probably not. So it's inductive reasoning that doesn't work, right? What makes you a good or bad driver is somewhat subjective, because driving is both a science and an art. There's certain things that you need to do, and lots of people will come back to me and say, if you follow all the traffic laws, you're a safe driver, you're going to be a better driver. That's not true. Traffic laws no more prevent crashes than criminal law prevents crime. Okay, we have all kinds of criminal laws in place, but they don't prevent crime in any stretch of the imagination. It's the same thing as traffic laws. They do not reduce traffic crashes. So there's a whole artistic, creative side to driving that you need to understand and implement. And unfortunately for a lot of new drivers, this is something that comes to them through experience, because they can't get it unless they're taking a lot of courses and whatnot. They're just going to figure this out on their own over time. And this is the thing about driving is that most of this is trial and error. Most drivers are reactionary. In other words, they're policing other people. If somebody's driving too slow in front of them or driving too fast, the person driving too slow is a bonehead, and the person passing them because they're going too slow is a dummy, right? So we're always policing other people in traffic. And that is, again, another characteristic of social driving. And I'm guilty of that. I get behind people. One of the things that drives me crazy is people that cannot drive the posted speed limit. At least drive the posted speed limit. People driving under the posted speed limit, yes, I am engaging in social driving, and I am policing them and telling them to hurry up. Most drivers will stop too close in traffic, and they will follow too close, and they will not give 3 feet, 1 meter minimum space between their vehicle and vulnerable road users, cyclists, motorcycle riders, pedestrians. And I talked about this last week in the last couple of live streams, where I got really annoyed by people that pull right up to the crosswalk and then stop. They don't stop 1 vehicle length, right at the edge of the crosswalk. And it's like, I do not feel safe as a pedestrian at that crosswalk crossing. So give them a margin of space, a buffer of space, minimum safe distance between your vehicle and vulnerable road users on the roadway, because if you're not near anything, it's less likely you're going to hit something. Okay? Communication is bad when driving. We sit nose to tail, right? Boot to bonnet, bonnet to boot sort of thing, right? It's the same thing as standing in a grocery store line behind other people. It's unlikely that you're going to engage in a conversation because you're looking at their backside. When we look at people's backsides, we rarely talk to them. It also means, no, I don't want to talk to you. You stand over there, right? We usually face people when we communicate. And this is probably why, this is one of the theories about why communication when driving is bad. Okay, so people are following too close, the vehicle in front stops, and then everybody slows down. One driver brakes, everybody brakes. And if you drive on Highway 401 through Ontario or any busy interstate in California, for example, this following too close creates phantom traffic jams, because you've got 20 cars in a line and the first one brakes, the next one brakes a little bit harder, the next one brakes a little bit harder than that, and then finally by the time you get back to the 20th car in the queue, the whole pack has come to a stop. So one of the criticisms that has been levied against maintaining space in front of your vehicle is that it contributes to congestion, when in fact it is completely the opposite that is true. If people maintain space around their vehicles, 2 to 3 second following distance, they in fact would reduce congestion, not increase congestion. So that doesn't work out. Misperceptions, too close in a queue, getting rear-ended. And as I said, Rear end crashes are the #1 crashes in North America. So if you're going to maintain that following distance in front, that 2 to 3 second following distance, you're going to reduce your chances of getting rear-ended. And 2 to 3 second following distance is under ideal conditions. If traffic and weather conditions deteriorate, for example, you get freezing rain or snow and ice and those types of things, then you want to increase your following distance out to 4 to 5 seconds to maintain that space so you can get yourself stopped. And lots of snow and ice in the south right now. There was a beach in Galveston, Texas on Twitter this afternoon where there was somebody out there cross-country skiing on the beach because it is so cold and they're getting snow. And they've been getting snow in Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, all those places up and down. You know, the southern extreme of snow usually runs through the middle of the United States. But farther south, much farther south, they're getting snow. So when they're getting snow, especially in these places where they don't normally get snow, it is paramount, it is incredibly important that you increase your following distance even more and you start braking sooner when you're coming up to intersections, when the traffic in front of you is slowing and whatnot. Okay? Drivers fail to communicate. We've talked about this in terms of signaling, that people are like, oh, well, I don't have to signal because I'm coming out on the interstate and people know what I'm doing anyway. Signaling is not to tell other people what you're doing, okay? They don't care what you're doing. What they care about is that you're in their way. That is social driving. You signal to get their attention. 3 flashes on the signal minimum before moving your vehicle, either changing lanes or turning or whatnot, changing directions of your vehicle. The first flash gets their attention. The second flash allows them to locate you wherever you are on the roadway. And the third flash allows them to do something, because driving is a social activity, right? Social driving, social activity. We go along to get along on the roadways. So 3 flashes minimum on the signal. And lots of new drivers will come back to me and say, oh, when I put my signal on and I'm trying to change lanes, somebody will speed up. Well, if they speed up and pass you, they've actually done you a favor because they've got out of your way. All right? So 3 flashes minimum to indicate, to get other drivers' attention. It's not to communicate what you're doing because they don't care what you're doing. It's to get their attention so they see you, because it's like a relationship, right? If we don't communicate well with other people, the relationship is going to deteriorate. And in the arena of social driving, this potentially could lead to you being involved in a crash, okay? Unpredictable actions are erratic and without warning. Sometimes people will do dumb things and do goofy things. And this is why, say for example, you come up to a complex intersection and there's already a car in the intersection waiting to turn left. You don't want to enter the intersection behind that vehicle. Yes, you're going to push through and get through and those types of things. You need to wait behind the stop line until that vehicle in front clears the intersection, because if something happens in the intersection or that person in the intersection does something goofy, now you're in it. And now it's just a whole muckaluck. That's a fancy word for, it's just a, cluster. And you don't want to be in it. So back behind the stop line. When you're sure that you can move into the intersection and clear the intersection quickly, then proceed and move forward into the intersection. All right, so most drivers are reactionary and retaliatory, and we see this with drivers that are driving slow. And I work really hard not to do this when people are driving slow or below the posted speed limit, tailgating them, right? Because if you start tailgating the person in front of you, then the person in front of you slows down to tell you that you're following too close, and then you're following too close, and then you follow even closer, and you start honking the horn and telling them they're #1 and all those wonderful things. And it's just this cat and mouse game, because the person in front is like, oh, you're tailgating me, I'm going to get back at you. And the person behind who's tailgating is like, would you hurry up? And you're honking the horn and you're telling them the #1, and then you follow them home, and it just descends into this terrible road rage incident. So maintain your distance. Calm awareness, take a breath, and maintain your distance. And, within a minute or whatnot, they've turned off and they've gone down a side street or those types of things. All right. Drivers police other drivers, criticize, crowding, honking, the finger, road rage, all these forms of communication. And hopefully it's just minor road rage as opposed to major road rage where weapons are involved. People are using their vehicle as a weapon and those types of things. So this is the other piece about it. In the United States of America, people carry guns. So there have been incidents where people have been shot in road rage incidents. There was one today I watched on Twitter. The van went around the semi-truck, stopped on the road, blocked the semi-truck, and the person coming out of the semi-truck came out with a tire iron and whacked the person that came out of the van. So there's weapons involved. These are major road rage incidents. All right, following too close, failing to give the right of way, and mismanagement of speed and space. These are the top reasons for traffic crashes. Following too close, right off the top, okay? Failing to give the right of way. Sometimes, as I said, if you don't have calm awareness, you get emotionally involved because you're policing the other person or the other road user, whatever he or she is doing, and you lose your cool. You're like, screw you, I'm not giving up my right of way, and you run into the other person because all you had to do was take your foot off the throttle. So this is why you need to control your emotions, because driving is emotional. We get crazy about it. Just go on the short video where I tell people to put the transmission into neutral on an automatic transmission when you're slowing down on snow and ice, and just see how emotional people get about how wrong that is. That's people who are being emotional, because driving is emotional. You got to have calm awareness. Just take a breath, let your foot off the throttle, let them go and have their crash somewhere else. Okay? Mismanagement of speed and space. Never give up that 2 to 3 second following distance. Always stop back 1 vehicle length from the vehicle in front of you. And recognize the difference in speed between your vehicle and other traffic, your vehicle and pedestrians, your vehicle and cyclists, because there is a speed differential there. And if you can maintain minimum safe distance between you and other traffic, it's less likely that you're going to be involved in a crash, because space buys you time, time buys you options, options prevent crashes. Know that. Good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. All right, Corey's put up a couple of videos there. Thank you so much for that. That is awesome. Eric, we got married about the time frame, bit more than 10 years. It is approximately when Smart Drive started. Excellent. That is great. Congratulations, Eric, on marriage. 10 years. Awesome. Way to go. Status, lane bargers, sorry, yes, okay. Times around, it seems like more and more 1 car space of less following distance. 3 flashes, single, got it, excellent. Okay, seen also 1 flash before moving lanes too. Yes, Eric. There are people who give you a courtesy flash. They're already moving across into the other lane, and then they put like 1 flash on just to go across, because it's like, oh, I did signal, right? Just in case something happens. I did signal. Yeah, 1 flash. No, minimum 3 flashes before you move your vehicle. But, you know, you get this courtesy flash for sure. Just passed yesterday. Thanks for your help. Vera, that is awesome news. Congratulations, my friend. Thank you so much for stopping back and letting us know. That is awesome, awesome news. Congratulations. And Vera, what did you do to celebrate your success there yesterday? Elevator fan, I was on the interstate and a semi was shredding a tire. What is a good way to get a trucker's attention to let them know that they have an issue with their truck? Elevator fan, there really isn't a good way that you can get communication to let them know that there's something wrong with their truck. And I'll tell you a story about this, elevator fan. Years ago when I was hauling garbage out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada into Michigan, because Toronto had filled up its landfills, so then it was paying to have all its garbage shipped into Toronto, or into Michigan rather. I was driving transfer trucks into Michigan. So these things are 6-axle garbage trucks. They're hydraulic walking floors. They weigh 55,000 pounds empty, truck and trailer. Just to give you some perspective on that, the average car weighs about 2,500 pounds. Okay, so they weigh a lot. They're full of garbage. They weighed 140,000 pounds. What's that? 70 tons? 70 imperial tons. So 70 tons. So one time I was backed in, they're loading the garbage on with this big excavator pincer type thing, and they're loading the garbage on, and it's really dry. And so I pull onto the scale, and they will not let you leave the depot until you are 140,000 pounds. You have to be 140,000 pounds. They will not let you leave. So wasn't the maximum weight, so they backed me back into where the loading was, and the excavator for like a half an hour just like pounded more garbage onto the back of the truck. Consequently, what happened, which I didn't really notice when I was up pulling the tarp over the load, was that the garbage was sticking up 12 inches over the top of the trailer. And driving to Michigan, and there's a low overpass, not like a low overpass that the truck can't go under, but an overpass that was exactly 13 feet 6 inches. And it was probably 13 feet 8 inches. There were 3 or 4 inches between the top of the trailer and the bridge. And come around the on-ramp under the bridge, and because the garbage was sticking up, it ripped the top of the tarp off the trailer and a bunch of the garbage. Anyway, I'm driving down the interstate at 65 mile an hour, doing my own thing, not realizing what had happened. And there's like 30 feet of tarp hanging off the back of the truck as I'm going down the road. And there's people, I can see the cars going by, and they're like waving at me, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? How's it going? And I didn't realize what had happened, that I had pulled the tarp off the top of the truck, and some of the garbage was blowing out over the interstate, until I actually got to the dump. So yeah, how do you get the attention of semi-truck drivers? I don't know. There's no easy way, like flash or four-way flashers or those types of things to tell them that something's wrong. It would be great if you could. Really the only way that you could would be CB radios, but I think CB radios are pretty much gone, the way of the manual transmission in semi-trucks. Maybe some of the smart drivers here watching the replay or whatnot can leave us a comment down in the comment section of how to, get the attention of semi-truck drivers. I mean, maybe, if you have a passenger in the vehicle, you can get a piece of paper and write a little note on it or something, put it up on the window or whatnot. But other than that, not really. Vera is celebrated by driving straight home and getting my permit upgraded to a license. That's awesome. 3 more months until my G road test. Congratulations. Awesome status. That is really great, my friend. Lucy, shoulder check. I learned that from you. I say it a lot when I'm driving. I won't forget shoulder check. So important. Lucy, I cannot overstate how important shoulder checking is. It's the first skill that drivers lose after getting their license. And as many of you know, not shoulder checking is to driving what not checking to see if a weapon is loaded is to gun safety. Why on any planet would you change direction of a 3,000, 4,000 pound vehicle at speed and not look into your blind areas to see whether there's cyclists, pedestrians, or some kid on a skateboard or whatnot in your blind area? You have to shoulder check. You have to move your head. Sometimes you even have to move your hips forward and backwards because the A pillar or the B pillar on your car is going to create a blind area that you can't see into just because of the way the car is situated when you're driving and whatnot. So it becomes important to shoulder check every time you change lanes, every time you change directions of the vehicle, and especially in parking lots where there's families with kids and whatnot running through parking lots. You need to be shoulder checking when you're moving and driving through parking lots. Eric, don't tell them garbage truck drivers they are number one. Yes, they will not pick up your garbage. 24, no snow here in Lower Mainland, BC. No more driving for me. Don't have snow tires. Maybe not. As long as the roads are clear, you're going to be just fine without snow tires, as long as you have good quality tires in your vehicle. This is the other piece that's questionable about whether you have good quality tires on your vehicle or not. Carrie, hello, my friend, tuning in from Minnesota. Congratulations on 10 years of giving excellent driving advice at Smart Drive Test. Thank you, my friend, for that. Even I'm a little shocked that it's been 10 years. It's crazy. Mary, just wait. We should be getting snow on Saturday and Sunday. Vancouver will be insane. Yes, and we've talked about this before, Marion, that Vancouver, Victoria, Vancouver, most of southern Vancouver Island, when they get snow, they should just stay home. They should just declare state of emergency and everybody stay home until the snow melts, because it never lasts more than 2 days. So why are we out there driving around, risking our safety to drive around? Do we really need to get somewhere that badly? The answer is no, we do not. I mean, emergency crews and those types of things, but the training that I have done with fire stations and those types of things over the years, they all have chains. And the only way that you can move around in that goop and grease is with chains or studded tires, because it doesn't matter how skilled you are. As I said to you, the first time that I encountered snow on Vancouver Island, it's just wet grease. It's insane how slippery it is. And it doesn't matter what kind of car you have. It doesn't matter what kind of tires you have in your vehicle. You are not going to be safe driving in those kinds of conditions. And this is why in the South, in Texas and Florida and Georgia, Arkansas, places like that, when they get snow, you could be the best winter driver in the world, and it is not. That skill set is rendered null and void, because it's like driving on ice right after this. It's like driving on an ice hockey rink right after the Zamboni went out and flooded the ice. You have this layer of water on top of the snow and ice, which lubricates it and makes it incredibly slippery. So, Eric, Goodyear Assurance tires, good all year tires, excellent. Yes, and there are a lot of all-season tires that you can buy. Goodyear tires, as Eric was saying, Bridgestones, Firestones, Michelins are my favorite. Any one of these are good tires, and most of these all-season tires are going to have the mountain snowflake symbol on them, or they're going to have MNS, which is mud and snow. Now, yes, they're not winter tires, okay? Winter tires have a softer rubber compound. So when you get down around freezing, the tire still stays flexible. And what happens is because the tire is flexible, it gets rid of the snow in the treads of the tire. That's the essential component of winter tires. And when you can get rid of the snow, it can bite into the snow and use the snow for traction. So this is one of the reasons why you want to consider putting winter tires in your vehicle. Now, if you're driving up and down to the ski hill every day, yes, you definitely want to have winter tires. If you're driving in the mountains, you're driving outside of the cities, definitely have winter tires on your vehicle. And if you're driving on hardpack, if you don't know what hardpack is, it gets so cold and so much snow that they cannot remove it from the roadway, and essentially you're driving on a layer of snow on the roadway. If you're driving on hardpack, then you definitely want to consider having steel-studded tires on your vehicle. Now, for most of us, Minnesota, here in Western Canada, we haven't had snow. We haven't had any snow. And we were, as I said, last weekend we drove down to Mount Baker. We went skiing for a couple of days, the kids and I. They haven't had any snow in like a month. Like no snow at all. Even on the mountain, they haven't had any snow. So it's been very weird. Whereas my mom, who lives in Wingham, Ontario, in Great Lakes districts and gets the lake effect, every time I look at the weather app, she's getting snow. And she says to me, we have snow up to our eyeballs. Absolutely snow up to their eyeballs. Whereas here, I mean, you can still see the grass outside. But, we have that lovely overcast that just drones on forever. And it's just, blah. It's just gross. Okay, so we're talking about social driving. We're talking about the way that people drive after they get their license. They believe that they are good drivers. They follow too close. They speed. They don't stop completely at stop-signed intersections. They don't scan intersections. They don't map and track road users. They drive far too close to vulnerable road users. And as I've said, I walk a lot, and I get people who drive cars who raise my ire. When I'm driving my car, I'm pretty cool. Most of the time, I have calm awareness. I do what I need to do. But when I'm walking and somebody drives really close to me, I get really upset, especially on left-hand turns. If people come into the intersection and then they nose into me as if saying, you need to hurry up, I go from 0 to 120 on the anger scale in like 0.01 of a second. I get really excited when people do that to me when I'm driving, and especially when, more so when I'm riding my bicycle as well. Carrie, we have only an inch of snow or once in a while here in Minnesota. So even Minnesota, which is known for getting snow, doesn't have snow, it's just kind of weird that nobody has really. Most of the places that do in fact get snow don't really have snow this year. And the ski hill was a bit icy in a couple of sections just because they're trying really hard just to keep it groomed. But they haven't had snow in a while. Eric, or even yield to emergency vehicles too. Yes, Eric, absolutely. That is another aspect of social driving, is that emergency vehicles people do not give way to emergency vehicles. And I said that on a defensive driving course, and I know I annoyed the person that I said it to. I said, you probably couldn't pass the driver's test right now. And they're like, oh yeah, I could. And I was like, okay, you can pass a driver's test. And we were out in the vehicle, and an emergency vehicle went by, and they didn't stop for the emergency vehicle. And I said, well, you just failed your driver's test because you didn't stop for an emergency vehicle. So know that, for those of you taking driver's tests, preparing for your driver's test, that not stopping for an emergency vehicle on a driver's test is an automatic fail. And if you're practicing your driving in a small town like where I live here in Vernon, British Columbia, emergency vehicles are rare. It might be every 10th driving lesson that you actually get an emergency vehicle and you have to practice pulling over and stopping. And Corey will put up the video on chance events that could cause you to fail on your driver's test. Now, if you're taking driving lessons in Chicago or in New York City or Los Angeles, emergency vehicles are going to be part and parcel of your driving lessons every day, just because there are so many emergency vehicles. When I was in Brooklyn a couple of years ago and I stayed overnight in a hotel, it was just part of the urban noisescape. I just made up a word. It was just the sounds of the city was emergency vehicles all the time moving through the city there. Carrie, is it weird that South is getting so much snow this year and we are not getting much? Yeah, it is. It's upside down world, where the South is getting snow and we're not. Status, another cause of crash is lack of complete stop signs and lights in a risk to crash towards a left turning car. Yes, and the other contributing factor to that obviously is inebriation, distractions, right? Now that we've legalized marijuana in many places, many people are driving not only drunk, but they're also driving high. So, that's another piece of the traffic safety puzzle. And also, many people are on medications, prescribed medications, over-the-counter medications, don't know what the effects are on their ability to drive, their cognitive ability, their attention span, and those types of things. And most people who are inebriated by prescription medications and over-the-counter medications. This is what people don't realize. It's not the people who are drinking alcohol and driving or the people who are smoking marijuana. That's a small percentage of it. Most of the people who are inebriated when driving, prescription and over-the-counter medications. So know the effect that prescription and over-the-counter medications have on you and your ability to drive. Status, okay, we talked about that. Eric, especially police and ambulances, it seems. Yes, a lot of those for sure. There's a lot of pieces, indeed. Elevator fan, a cause of crashes is not yielding to oncoming traffic on a left-hand turn. And yes, for new drivers, if you are going to be involved in a crash, there is a high percentage that you are going to be involved in a crash, making a left-hand turn at a complex intersection. And there are several driving tips and habits that you can create. First and foremost, do not move into the intersection. I know that there are New York City, for example, when I was doing the driving with Sam, and Corey will put up the videos for you with driving with Sam in New York City, they want drivers to move into the intersection, and I do not agree with that. You have to stay back at the edge of the intersection, and when you are going to be able to move completely through the intersection, then you drive straight into the intersection. When you meet the gap, when the gap presents itself, then turn left. Couple of reasons that I advocate that you stay back at the edge of the intersection. First and foremost, if something happens in the intersection, you're not in the intersection, so you're not going to be involved in it. Second, it increases your line of sight with the pedestrians on the cross street, okay? Because if you move into the intersection, now you've put the pedestrians into your blind area on your left side here. Whereas if you stay back, now you can look almost straight out through the front windshield and see the pedestrians and track their movement as they're crossing the street before you move into the intersection. So at the edge of the intersection, tires straight, see the cars coming. When your gap presents itself and the car in front of your gap hits the stop line on the other side of the intersection, then you drive straight into the intersection. When the car goes past, then you make your turn. Doing that and using that technique also reduces the amount of time that you are in the crosshairs, the danger zone of the oncoming traffic when you're making your left-hand turn. So if you can implement that habit, those skills and techniques for making left-hand turns, you're going to significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash, especially for those new drivers who just got their license. It will keep you safe. Epic, left turn, try to have a clear gap between you and oncoming traffic places. Drive right in drive left countries, the right turn also forward. Watch out for drivers veering to the median. Yes, indeed. Carrie, if really tired and you need to drive to get somewhere, is better to take an Uber if you can or drive oneself. Yes, fatigue is definitely another issue with people driving, especially people who are working night shifts and working, odd hours and whatnot. They do fall asleep at the wheel, and I unfortunately have had that happen over the years as well. 24, thoughts on maximizing safety when night driving, especially in rain or snow. Okay, yes. Okay, so 24, excellent question. Thank you for that. Safety in driving on rain and snow at night. First and foremost, make sure you have good windshield wipers on your vehicle to keep the glass clean. Keep the glass on your vehicle clean. Snow, in the winter time, make sure that you have your winter washer fluid topped up completely so that you can clean the glass on your vehicle. We drove down to Washington State. We had snow on the Coquihalla through the mountains. The buggy is absolutely filthy. And I used a lot of washer fluid to keep the glass clean on the vehicle. Also, make sure that you have good windshield wipers, because I have poor quality windshield wipers on. The shop put them on the vehicle, and I'm going to go back and tell them they can have them back because they're disastrous. The other thing that happened to the glass on the buggy is that my mom was in the car when she was here in November and had the defrost on. And of course, there's a layer of mist, and my mom wiped it off. And of course, now I've got half the windshield in the buggy that's absolutely filthy. I need to clean it. So saying that, driving at night, keep the glass clean to prevent the refraction of the light from oncoming cars and the ambient light from street lights and whatnot, so it's not refracting through and doing all kinds of wacky things on your eyes when you're driving. The other thing you can do driving at night is turn down the dash lights as low as you can stand them, because if they're too bright, your eyes are attracted to light and movement, so it draws your eyes down and causes more fatigue when you're driving. All right, and all vehicles will have something to be able to turn down the dash lights. Clean the glass, windshield washer fluid, looking far down the road, looking for your landmarks. Corey will put up the video on night driving. So looking for your landmarks, looking for traffic signs along the roadway because they're often within close proximity, looking for utility poles, following other traffic because, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, other traffic will drive on the roadway. Lights of buildings along the roadway will give you an idea where the roadway is going to go. Intersections with cross traffic going through will give you an indication of what the roadway is doing and where the other traffic is on the roadway. Look for your landmarks at night to help you to locate the road, because a lot of drivers out there have difficulty locating the roadways. And of course, driving, if it's not raining or snowing and you can put your high beams on, use your high beams as much as you can. Now, very advanced skill for driving late at night. If I'm on a multi-lane road driving late at night, I will straddle the center line. So I will drive down the center line of the 2 lanes. Now, you have to be aware of what's going on and you have to stay awake. You can't kind of wane in your attention, as sometimes happens, because you have to keep a lookout for what traffic coming up behind you, because you got to move over back into your lane, right? But a lot of times I will just sit on that center line if I'm driving late at night and there isn't any traffic out on the roadways. Finally, animals. If you're driving late at night and there's animals on the roadway, you want to have half a mile, half a kilometer between you and a vehicle in front, and that vehicle in front is going to act as your buffer, right? They're going to be the animal buster. So if an animal steps out in front, it's going to be them, not you. Okay, so that's the other piece about it. Corey, moving into the intersection for a left turn without at least a jig jog for better vision really has zero benefit. It actually gives you less vision than staying back with the crosswalk. And yes, you're absolutely right, Corey. Absolutely right. And I cannot advocate that enough. And actually, you know, if you stand at an intersection, you watch people making left-hand turns, most people do not move into the intersection. Most drivers will stay at the edge of the intersection. And Corey's put up the video on night driving there. Thanks for that, Corey. Elevator fan, high beams also help at night. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Make sure you turn them down though, especially now with these newer cars with these like nuclear lights that will just like burn the retinas out of your face. Some of them are pretty bright. Lucy, where do I go to write a couple of lines of endorsement? Where in your website? Do I write something on your YouTube channel? Lucy, if you could just write it and send it to me in an email, rick@smartdrivetest.com, that would be really awesome. I would super appreciate it. And anybody else who wants to write me endorsements for the new website, that would be really awesome. I would be tremendously appreciative of anybody who wanted to do that. And you can just send that to me, rick@smartdrivetest.com. Would be really, really great. Emily, I had someone go right through making a left-hand turn in an intersection today as I was approaching, going straight. They didn't even look. First time I had to really blow the horn. And you're okay. That is awesome. And Corey's put up the email there. Thank you for that, Corey. Yeah, so if you want to write an endorsement and send that to me, that would be just really, really lovely. Elevator fan, I moved into the intersection when making a left turn so that I don't block the crosswalk. Elevator fan, you don't need to, it doesn't matter if you're blocking the crosswalk because you have the right of way and you're going and you're going to be gone by the time the cross traffic's there. So you don't need to worry about that. Okay. Excellent. Epic, when I was driving with my mom from the post office to Stewartville Middle School, there is a traffic light controlled intersection, no left turn arrow. I did your method, hold back, rather advance. And how did that go for you, Epic? Awesome. Excellent. Okay, so social driving, that's what we were talking about tonight. Tips and strategies and techniques that you can put in place, the smarter defensive driving, the tools of it. So knowing what social driving is, knowing what the problems you are up against when you're driving, people following too close, speeding, failing to give the right of way. Those are all the issues that you face as a driver on the roadway. What skills can you put in place? Space management, following 2 to 3 seconds behind other traffic, increasing that distance when weather and road conditions deteriorate. All right. Space management, speed management, recognizing the different speeds between different road user groups on the roadway and maintaining that minimum safe distance. So space is first, speed is always second. Osman, how are you, my friend? Tuning in from Edmonton. Welcome to the Smart Drive Test live stream. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll definitely try and help you out. Osman, you failed 7 times because of nerves. Okay. Osman, if you're failing because of nerves, I would suggest that you try and get different people in the car with you and practice as much as you can with different people and get them to do weird stuff while you're driving so that you can get a hold of those nerves and be successful on passing your driver's test, my friend. Epic felt like much safer than advancing into the intersection, because if there was an impatient driver would have gotten into a T-bone accident. I wonder why no one does that. Instead, they advance. Epic, it's just old school thinking. That's what it is. It's old school thinking, and it's people that believe that if you don't move into the intersection, you're increasing congestion. So there's some old thinking that needs to be unlearned, is what we need to do to keep people safe and getting them waiting at the edge of the intersection when they're learning to turn left. So speed and space management, observation, and communication. Use those tools to keep yourself safe and to be a safer, smarter driver when you're out on the roadways, and know that other people are going to do goofy things when you're driving. Expecting other people not to do something goofy is like going to watch your favorite sports team and expecting the other team not to score. It's just not a reality of your driving, okay? Other people are going to do goofy things. And 5 defensive driving strategies, have a look at that video. That will definitely give you the skills and abilities you need to be a safer, smarter driver. And next week, as I said, we're launching the new Smart Drive Test website. Very excited about that, because it seriously needed an overhaul. So that's what's going to happen next week, and we'll let you know about that and give you more information about it once we get up and get all the bugs out of it, because it's kind of a soft launch next week, because there's a lot. It's a big website. There's a lot of moving parts, and we're going to get that going. So yes, and as we talked about with Lucy, if you want to send me an email, Rick at Smart Drive Test, send me an endorsement for the new website and all the things that we do to help you out, that would be really tremendously appreciated. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. All the best. Bye.